This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Profitability Movement. Google Profitability-Movement to join this community of business owners focused on building profit, increasing wealth, and giving back. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you today. First, I hope that all of you had a phenomenal holiday season and are looking forward to a prosperous and great 2023. Today, we're going to talk about the most important thing that you do every day, every week, every month, and every year. You all probably have an idea in your head what you think the most important thing is. But the most important thing is to actually maximize billable hours. Probably not what you thought. Think about it this way. Labor, people who are working with you on your teams, they give you 8 hours a day. Busy times, maybe 10, maybe 12. But as a general rule, you have their attention, you have their time, and you have to productively use 8 hours a day of their time. So if you don't bill all of those 8 hours, guess what? You can't save them. You can't, we only billed 4 hours, tomorrow I'm going to do 12. No, it doesn't work that way. It is gone. Labor is perishable. I would assume, what happens when you assume, but I would think that most of you have been on an airplane sometime in your life. And when you were on that airplane, if there was an empty seat next to you, across the aisle from you, in front of you, behind you, that airline lost the ability to generate revenue for that seat, because once that flight takes off, that's it. That's the entire revenue that they generate for that flight. Same thing with hotel rooms. If they don't book a room for a night, guess what? They lose that ability to book that room in other nights, all right? Once that day is over, once that flight is over, that's it. You got all the revenue you're going to get for that particular day. So the reality of it is you need to think about maximizing billable hours as the most important thing that you do every day. Now, the corollary to that is maximizing billable hours profitably, of course. And, if you're maximizing 8 hours a day, but you're losing $10 for every billable hour, you have a problem. You'll go out of business very, very, very quickly, or it will bleed slowly and you'll get more and more frustrated because you're going to have more and more problems paying payroll and paying your bills. So yes, maximizing billable hours is the most important thing you do. Then you have to do it profitably. All right. So if you look at it from that perspective, the question is, how do I maximize billable hours profitably? Well, it's a brand new year. So we have the opportunity to start fresh, to start new. What I would hope that you would do is look at your billable hours for 2022, look at your total overhead cost for 2022, and then you calculate your overhead cost per hour for 2023, at least in the beginning. Then I want you to look at those same billable hours and compare that to the total number of hours you paid your employees. So for example, if they had 1,400 billable hours, but you paid them for 2,080 hours, that's not exactly where you want to be. You want to be somewhere between 1,800 and 1,900 billable hours. For those of you who are union, you're going to have almost, if there's 2,080 hours, you're probably going to have 2,040 billable hours because you don't have to pay for vacations and holidays. The only thing you're going to be paying for is meetings. That's it. All right. So you all will have the most billable hours of everybody. Now, most of us, other than union contractors, have vacations, they have holidays, they have meeting time, we have training time, we have shop time, we have a lot of different times that we can't bill a customer for. For non-union contractors, when I did the numbers, I calculated 91% billable as the maximum number of billable hours, given a certain number of holidays, a certain number of vacation days, meeting days, and training days. So 91% is probably going to be your maximum. Pretty close, anyway. And no, I don't have any contractors I'm working with who are at 91. I've got a bunch who are in the 80s, but nobody that I'm working with is at 91. So it's really hard to do that unless you are a union contractor. So figure it out. Where were you last year? And that's a really important thing to find out, because you can't's not the right word. If you want to increase the maximum billable hours to at least 75 or 80%, and you're at 40, the likelihood of you being able to do that, by a snap of the finger is probably slim and none. We're going to have to figure it out. And after the break, I'm going to give you some ideas that can help you increase the billable hours for your company. If you would like the billable hours template that you can use every single week with respect to, when you do your payroll, you can dump everything into this really cool little template, and you can find out what everybody's billable hour percentage was that week. Just send me an email or give me a call. I'm happy to email it to you. Email is Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv, 770-729-8000. And I'm happy to send it to you so that you can figure out where you are and know, what happens if you have some employees who are, 85% billable and some who are at 40. We have an issue with those who are at 40. So I'm going to leave you right before break with the story. We decided to start tracking billable hours for one of my clients, and the 3 most experienced, longest tenure technicians had the worst billable hour percentage, and we were going to post it. And so it wasn't fair to surprise them, make them look bad in front of their peers. So we brought each one of them in and we showed them where their billable hour percentage was versus everybody else, and the fact that they were on the bottom. And we gave them 3 months to bring it up to where everybody else was before we started posting it. We gave them some ideas. We asked them for some ideas on how that might happen, and they implemented their suggestions pretty much. And guess what happened? Those billable hours came up. Profitability increased. Everybody was happier. And when the numbers were posted, they weren't on the bottom. So I leave you with that, and we will be right back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense.
Many times, relatives are recruited to do your company's books without knowing how to do the books. Or you hire a bookkeeper who really doesn't know bookkeeping. If this is you, then your books are probably inaccurate. You probably pay more taxes than you should, and you rarely look at a P&L and balance sheet because you know they are wrong. What do? Have your bookkeeper enroll in Ruth King's Contractor Bookkeeping Basics. After completing this online course, your bookkeeper will know bookkeeping. You'll get accurate financial statements that help you make good business financial decisions. To enroll, click on the link in the show notes or call us at 770-729-0258. Enroll today.
Thank you for listening to Contractor Sense. Before the break, I gave you the story of one of my clients where we started posting billable hours after we showed everybody where their billable hours was. This is the thing that has to happen. You've got to post it. If you don't like the number and the number is not at least 75 or 80%, 75 is my actual minimum, then guess what? We need to get it up to 75 or get it up to above 80. And my experience has been that whatever gets tracked, watched, gets improved. So everybody should know where they are with respect to billable hours, and everybody should know what the company goal is for billable hours. Now, if you have a guy who's in training, so for example, he's riding with somebody, or he's learning to be a helper or whatever else it is, he's not going to have a whole lot of billable hours. But what it will show you is how much that person's time is actually costing you. So just be aware, there are times that it is training type things and things along those lines that, it's okay not to have the billable hours because they're still learning. All right. Just be aware that that happens sometimes. So posting it works really well. And explaining what it is, explaining that you're going to post a number every week or every month, however you choose to do it. And everybody's going to get used to getting that number, the overall company number. And there are some companies which are so competitive amongst the field personnel that they post the individual numbers every week and every month. And nobody wants to be on the bottom in those particular cases. If you've never done this, I don't suggest posting individual billable hours in the beginning. Wait till everybody has some familiarity with it, has come up with ideas to help improve the billable hour percentage, then post it. The best way I know of to do that, to build it up, is to ask them. Field knows what the office needs to do to help them increase their billable hours. The office knows what the field needs to do to increase their billable hours. And billable hours is just billable hours. Somebody who's answering the phone can't be part of this equation, but somebody answering the phone can impact the billable hours, or a dispatcher can impact the billable hours. So even though it's an overhead position, it can impact the productivity and profitability of field personnel. All right. So field knows what the office needs to do, office knows what the field needs to do, and gather it all up, implement their suggestions, or tell them why you can't implement their suggestions. It's really fun to watch billable hours go up. Again, we want profitable billable hours. Yes, of course. And as the profitability goes up and as the billable hours go up, the overhead cost per hour goes down, the net profit goes up, and you become a happy camper. Your managers become happy campers because everybody is productively taking care of your customers, which is really, really, really important. All right, let's assume that you are at a 50% billable hour percentage and you want to be at 75. The likelihood of going from 50 to 75 in a month is probably pretty slim, unless there are some major things happening that can be instantly improved. Most of the time, it's going to take a quarter, maybe a year to get it to 75 or 80. I mean, it's going to take some time. It's going to take focus. It's going to take probably changing some things and implementing some things in a little different way to make that happen. So what I do and what I suggest is, let's assume you're at 50 and we want to go to 60, which is reasonable, little steps at a time, eat the elephant a bite at a time. We've all heard that. And then once they get to 60 for a quarter, then or above, then you give them, everybody in the company, a small bonus. Maybe it's $50. All right. Then when we go from 60 to 75%, and it's there for a quarter, maybe at the end of that quarter, they all get a $200 bonus. And if you get it to 80% or above, you give them a $250 bonus per quarter that it stays above 80%. I promise you, if you were at 50 and you go to 80, that $250 for each of your employees is a drop in the bucket because of increased productivity and profitability, assuming that you are pricing properly. This has to be part of the equation also. However, 80% productivity or higher every single month, every single quarter, every single year, everybody stays focused on it. If they get a check or, an additional input into their direct deposit for $250 less their payroll taxes every single quarter, and you make a big deal about it. Hey guys, ladies, we did it. We were above 80% for this entire quarter. You're going to get a special bonus check of $250. Obviously, I have to take the payroll taxes out of it because I don't look good in orange jumpsuits and I don't want the IRS on my back or your backs. So essentially, they get $1,000 extra for the year, assuming that the billable hour percentage is north of 75 or north of 80. I would hope that you would go to at least north of 80. So let them know what it is. You need, I hate to use the word need, but it's in your company's best interest and your best interest to achieve the goals that you want to achieve is to have everybody maximizing their productivity and their billable hours. Now, productivity from an office perspective and an overhead perspective, we can look at that separately. Productivity from a field perspective is if they're charging you and putting on their timesheet that they work 40 hours, we want at least 80% of that, right? Or 32 hours of billable time. It's easier if they're install than it is service, but even service technicians can do this, assuming that you have billable service calls, all right? Make sure they're not spending a whole lot of time in the shop. Make sure they're going to their calls from their homes. Whenever possible, deliver equipment to jobs so that they don't have to come to the office. All of these things can help you increase billable hours. And of course, your field personnel will have ways that the office is causing them to waste time, and your office will have ways that the field personnel is wasting time. So gather all that data, implement their suggestions, and they love the fact that you're implementing their suggestions, and then, or tell them why you can't implement the suggestions. That's just as important so that they don't feel like they've been ignored. Then start tracking. And you will see the billable hour percentages go up. You know where you were for 2022. You can start first week, which is this week for 2023, and track your productive billable hours. Okay. If you want the template, information to get it is below. So thank you for joining us. Choose the one thing you discovered, i.e. billable hours, profitable billable hours, and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable